want to tell you a story that involves real estate, but it's really a life lesson. So I wanted to do a terms deal about 10 years ago, kind of a terms deal, where I had owned a house in Idaho. I'd lived there for a while, and I like my house, but I was on this lake, Lake Coeur d'Alene, most beautiful lake in the world, I think. And there's this dude that owned this amazing property. He had this little shack on the side of it, but nothing on the main property. And I'd go by, babe, we're going to buy that thing someday. I had no money. Babe, we're going to buy that thing someday. Okay, honey, my little plastic boat. And then I finally met the dude who lived in the little shack. I'd yell at him, hey, Richard, you want to sell this place? Of course, I had no money. He's like, no, man, I'm going to live here forever. It's heaven. And then like the next summer I'd come by, Richard, it's Eddie Mylett. You ready to sell? Come on. No. Of course, I had no money. I'm like, whew. 8 years of wanting that property. And the 8th year, I went by one summer, and before I could get it out, he's on his deck. Hey, come on over. And I'm like, I get my boat pretty close to the cabin. He goes, hey, I'm ready to sell. I said, you're kidding me. He goes, no, I'm getting divorced. I'm ready to sell. Good old Idaho boy. And he goes, park the boat. Let's go up and talk about it. And I turn to my wife. I go, oh, shit. I don't have any money to buy this place. We'd have to leverage everything we have. She's like, yeah, let's not do that. That's stupid. I like where we live, and I like our other house, and life's okay. I'm like, I want this. This is my dream. So we get up, and what comes out of me? Velcro Mercedes boy creeps back out again. I said, well, Richard, I don't really have the money to afford this place. He goes, well, that's going to be a problem. I said, I don't think so. I said, I got my house over there. That's worth a bunch of money, and I have it paid off. I said, what if we did this? I'll give you I was driving a Bentley at the time. I said, how about this? I'll give you my Bentley. I'll give you this plastic boat. I'll give you my house, and I'll give you $500,000, and you carry me a note for 3 years for XYZ. He did the deal. So I've given him everything I got. I gave him my car. I gave him my boat. I gave him my house. I gave him all my cash. And now I got this place. And everyone's like, are you out of your mind, dude? Your other place was nice. What's wrong with where you were? You ever heard that before? People are going to say it to you all the time, just so you know. What's wrong with where you're at? What's wrong with your life now? Let's have a couple beers. Let's play some golf. Let's go bowling. You'd be like, no, you don't get it. I'm a dreamer. I'm going to be the one. I couldn't express it that way at the time, but I couldn't explain it. Everyone's like, wait a minute, you have a nice place. You got a good career. You finally are over the hump. What are you doing? I'm like, you don't get it. So I buy this place, and I'm all excited. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get a construction loan. I'm going to build it. I start bringing contractors out. First contractor comes out, Idaho boy's like, you weren't planning on putting a house here, were you? I'm like, yeah, look at this view, and it's huge. And he goes, you can't build a house here. It's all rock, literally rock with all of these springs running throughout. You'll have water popping up everywhere. Didn't you wonder why there wasn't a house here before? I went, what? And my heart stopped. I'm sweating. I'm like, oh my God, they were right. I've lost my mind. I'm like, well, maybe he's just wrong. I bring out the next contractor. He goes, you can't build here. You can put it over where that little shack is, but this is a nightmare. You got rock everywhere. There's running springs. This place will flood out. Plus the lake runs up here. The house will flood if the lake gets too high. I'm like, oh my God, I've blown it. I've made the biggest mistake of my life. Some of you, by the way, are going to feel that way on your first deal. Some of you are going to feel that way just trying to do a deal. And I remember what was happening. I was coming all the way back to my old identity. Oh my God, they're right. I am an idiot. I did get lucky. This was crazy. So finally another dude comes out. He goes, well, we could try, but you'd have to blow up this hill. And I'm like, well, what's that mean? He goes, we'd have to just start jackhammering this rock and see where it goes, Ed. And I'm like, okay, what's that cost? And he goes, 30 grand an hour, or no, 30 grand a week. I went, how many weeks we talking about here? He goes, I don't know. We'll just have to get started. I said, all right, well, let's get started. 40 weeks later, my place looked like a bomb went off in Beirut. Thousands of rocks all over the place, springs popping up. No place to build the house. It literally looked like a bomb went off. I went out there. I literally cried sitting there in this mess, this huge mess, rocks all over planet Earth, looked horrible. People on the lake driving by going, what in the hell is that clown doing over there? people complaining that I was ruining the lake because of this eyesore up there. My wife thought I was nuts. My family thought I was nuts. People were making fun of me. And I started to really think I had lost my mind. I'm being honest with you. And I was scared. And so then we had to dynamite the hill. So that guy left because I ran out of money to pay him. And finally, I had this beautiful man, 80 in his 80s, good Christian man, who's an architect, call me. And he said, Mr. Mylett, I'm aware of your project over there. I know it's not gone very well. Might I meet with you and maybe give you some hope? And I'm like, I would love that, man. I'm really down. So he comes over and he goes, I have a plan for your property here. This whole mess you've got, this whole mess everywhere, we can repurpose this mess and literally build the foundation of the house with it. We can use all the rocks you've got and we'll divert the water into this beautiful waterfall. We'll take the rest of these rocks that you've made this huge mess with and we'll use it as the retaining wall to protect the house from the lake. And we can take the rest of the other rocks and we can use it as the stone on the house and the veneer. I can build a huge fireplace inside with these rocks over here, and I can pour the foundation and sustain it with the rest of these rocks here. We can repurpose your entire mess and build your dream. And I went, oh my God, are you serious? Thank you. And guess what? Let me show you something. Can we put that up, Kristen? There it is. Guys, that's my mess. That's my Beirut. It's one of the most spectacular homes on planet Earth. See that little thing over there on the left? That's the dilapidated cabin I used to drive by with Richard. We redid that. We put all the rocks in front of that. We rebuilt it. Those roof shingles are all handmade copper shingles. See all the rocks in the front of the house? That was part of the mess that was diverted all over the place. The second layer of all the rocks, all of those rocks were once inside the ground on that hill. We created a big old cove with the explosions we made over there. See all the rocks on the house? Those were all part of the mess that we repurposed our mess. If you can click through again, I know I talked about this on the podcast. Go ahead, Kristen. Now you get a better look at it. All of those rocks were blown up on the hill and repurposed. All the rocks on the house that you see there were repurposed. We repurposed the mess. Click through if you would, Kristen. We built the fire pits from it. You can click through. This is the entire hope. It's one of the most spectacular homes on earth. We repurposed the entire mess. I don't know if there's one of the waterfalls there to the left. If there's one more, Kristen, you can click it and then we'll pull it down. If you can try to click it again.
Final.
So, guys, God wants to repurpose your mess. You got it? That's what God wants to do in your life. He wants to take your mess and build your dream. Remember this, the deeper the foundation, the bigger the dream. The bigger the dream, the need for the deeper foundation. All my life, God's come along and repurposed my messes. And so what you think, I said this on the show, you think your mess disqualifies you from winning, and it does not disqualify you. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, they don't know about my divorce. They don't know about my BK. They don't know about this bad decision I made. They don't know about this mistake. They don't know about how insecure I am. They don't know about, there's something you're ashamed of. And you think that mess you got, those choices you make, that addiction you have, that relationship, that financial situation, that thing you're not proud of, you think it disqualifies you from winning. God wants to use your mess and repurpose it to do something magnificent. Exactly as I said on there. Listen to me on this. He took the biggest mess of my life and built the most beautiful structure I've ever seen, ever. And that mess, guess what? Is now my testimony. That test is my testimony. It's the closing message of my damn talk. Who'd have thought when I was sitting in the middle of Beirut with springs of water and people laughing at me and out of money and rocks everywhere, that God would come along and say, I'm going to take all of this mess and I'm actually going to use this mess to build your dream. And then I'm going to make that test you went through your testimony. And if I don't go through all of that, my story's not inspiring because there's no before to tell you the after. It's awesome. So what you're going through or have gone through is going to be your testimony. That mess is what's going to make it magnificent. But you got to have faith that it can be repurposed. And so I've covered a lot today. I've covered all of this. I've covered you my before. I've told you how great the guys are. Like, I think the organization is unbelievable. I just do. I think they're awesome. Chris and Zach are good men. So you got to learn to do the deals. You got to build your identity. You got to have incredible management of your time. You got to know your mess is going to get repurposed. And then you got to have faith that does not disqualify you. In fact, it qualifies you.